Welcome to Her Lights, your home for women's sports coverage. I'm your host, Erin Foley, a stand-up comic, TV writer, and most important, an obsessed sports fan. I break down the best games, highlight the best stories, and interview the best from the world of women's sports. So put on your jerseys, stretch out your hammies, and let's do this. Hello, Her Lighters. It's Erin Foley back in the booth talking women's sports. I have such a fun guest today. She is an author, broadcast journalist, podcast host, and senior writer for ESPN. She has covered it all, people. Holy crap, your resume is insane. Olympics, Super Bowls, Grand Slams, X Games, but most importantly, she rides dirt bikes and loves a good pontoon boat. Please welcome my friend, Alyssa Roenigk. Woo!
Thank you. That was a lovely intro. And thank you for getting the pontoon boats and dirt bikes in there because that
Oh,
is
yeah.
equally as important in my life now that I live in Big Bear.
I know, which I've been threatening to come up, but I
I know
swear
it's gonna
to God,
happen.
it's this summer.
It's gonna happen.
It's this summer. I know. As I've gotten to know you, I realize like how, first of all, your like body of work is insane in the best way possible. I'm using insane. I'm bringing back. I'm,
But
I'm
I
making
mean,
insane
today's
feel
a good
good.
example. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
sometimes insane.
Can you just 30 seconds? Listeners, you just have to hear this. Like, we were supposed to record earlier in the day, and she's like, I'm literally breaking a story. Just give us like a 30-second, and then I'm going to link it into the show notes.
Well, thank you for doing that. My reporting partner, Tisha Thompson, and our editor, Elaine Tang, and I were working on a story on Ryan Wedding, who is the former Canadian Olympic snowboarder turned alleged drug kingpin. He is sort of the alleged heir to the Sinaloa drug cartel. He was first linked to El Chapo in 2015, and it's probably the craziest story any of us have ever covered. And we've been following this for a year and a half. We were actually prepping a story to run next week just to sort of plant a flag and say, here's ESPN's coverage of the manhunt. They've been looked at multinational, international manhunt has been going on for about 17 months. And, we just said with the Olympics coming up, this is going to be a story. Let's do a piece now. And then when they capture him or kill him, whatever happens, we'll continue to cover it. And this morning I was online, sort of working on a piece and pulling records. And apparently last night he walked into the US Embassy in Mexico City and turned himself in. So not the ending any of us were expecting. If you haven't, I imagine he was all over everyone's televisions today, and it's some of the video is wild because how a middle class snowboarder from Vancouver became, the leader of the Sinaloa drug cartel, running $1 billion cocaine enterprise from Mexico to Canada is unbelievable. He also is being charged with several murders, including the star witness in the investigation a few months ago. And but seeing him get off the plane, I mean, he has transformed the way he looks. I mean, he's a big guy, 6'3", but he's walking off the plane with, he's a head taller than every member of the FBI.
Wow.
He's as wide as two of them. It was the first time anyone had seen him outside of a few photos since he competed in the Olympics in 2002.
It's
Wild,
so
wild
wild. You're like,
story.
hey, let's record later. I'm working on this Ryan Wedding story. And I was like, wait, who is that? You know what I mean? Like, I think I'd heard his name
Yeah.
or whatever. And then I was like, anyway, we'll link the article in the show notes. It's obviously whatever you write is fantastic. And now I'm going to be obsessed with your partner in crime on this. No pun intended. But beautifully written, and it's just captivating. And I
Thanks.
was like, well, this is going to be on Netflix in 5, 4, 3. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a mini
Yeah, it gets
series.
it gets crazier every
Yeah.
every time an indictment, there's another indictment or anything is unsealed. It's the information and it is just wild.
Yeah. Well, listen, just another reason to focus on women's sports.
1000%. Yeah. I mean, hey, if there's any benefit, the sport that he competed in, snowboard parallel giant slalom, does not get a lot of attention. It is not popular here. We do still send one man and one woman to the Olympics. I have a feeling more people, if it's even just out of curiosity about what this guy was doing when he was an Olympian, there might be a little more attention
There we go.
around parallel giant slalom snowboarding in Livigno.
It's a silver lining we
Silver
didn't know
lining.
existed. So there we go. There we go. I love it. All right. So obviously you're heading to the Olympics in a matter of weeks.
Yes.
How fired up are you? Like, and well, first of all, how fired up are you?
I am fired up. These 2 weeks are chaotic,
Yeah.
and I will be more fired up the day I'm getting on the plane. But I will say, I've covered a lot of Olympics, and the last several, coming out of COVID, during COVID, coming out of COVID, were tough. And this is the first Winter Olympics in 8 years where we're all going to be there. There's going to be family, there's going to be friends. It's going to feel like a real Olympics. And the way this Olympics is the most geographically spread out of any Olympics in history. And so, those of us who are covering snowboarding, free skiing, and ski racing, the towns of Livigno and Cortina, Italy, are, they're beautiful, quaint, but fairly contained towns. And the entire industry, every athlete, every parent, every agent, every manager, the sponsors are all going to be in those little towns. And they're people we've all been covering, all the journalists we've been covering these sports with and traveling the world together for 20 years for me. And so it's going to be that I'm really looking forward to. It feels like a giant version of going to an X Games or going to a Grand Prix. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to
Yeah.
ask if you had covered X Games or any type of other sports in those particular areas where the skiing and the snowboarding is going to be held.
Yeah, the closest is we used to have an X Games in Tignes, France, which is sort of right on the border of sort of France, Italy, Switzerland. You actually keep it's this is Europe, right? So in American, this was so cool. You would keep your credit card in your wallet in your pocket because if you could accidentally ski into another country, and then they wouldn't let you back on the lift if you didn't have a lift ticket from that country. So you have to buy another lift ticket, get back up the lift. So that was the closest. So I've covered, and then I covered my very first Olympics was 2006 in Torino, and so that was also in northern Italy, but on the sort of on the other side of northern Italy. So I have not been to Livigno or Cortina,
Oh my
so
God,
I'm pretty excited.
I know. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm already getting that much more exciting for you. Before we dive in, are you going to have time to snowboard? I know you also you're such an incredible athlete. Are you going to snowboard? Are you going to ski?
Yes.
Will you have time?
I will have time to snowboard for sure. Yeah, I will bring my
Nice.
snowboard and make sure that the lifts tend to be open later in Europe. I haven't actually looked about those two, but they tend to be open pretty late. And there's usually time either depending on some of the events are really early in the day and some of them are pretty late night events. And so you have time usually on one end or the other, at least
So
once in a while to
cool.
get out for some runs. Yeah.
It would be awesome. You could just also just walk around with your snowboard like you're an Olympian. You know what I mean? Be like, does anybody want any
No one would
autographs?
mistake me.
You've got goggles on, you've got a hat, you've got a
With
snowboard.
goggles and a beanie, sure.
Yeah. I mean, well, well, I'm an idiot, but I would do that in a heartbeat. Just be like, yeah, yeah. Does anybody want to buy me some beers? I just got off the slopes, third place. All right. What are you, well, primarily, skiing and snowboarding, right? Those are going
Yeah.
to be what are you, let's start with the snowboarding. What are
Okay.
you, and we'll go through, I wrote out interesting, what I call interesting descriptions, because when it gets into, well, we'll get into that. When it gets into
Okay.
slope style, big air, then I went and was like, okay, wait, I know I've seen them all obviously
Yeah,
throughout my
yeah,
life, but what, I'm not on the slopes.
yeah.
But then, we'll get to it. I think the big air is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I was like, oh, that's right, that's the big air. But let's get to that. We're going to start with the half pipe. But
Okay.
just for listeners, do you could you just kind of describe what the what the pipe looks like and what essentially dumb it down for us in lay terms describe the
Yeah.
half pipe.
So a half pipe is sort of what it sounds like. It's like if you were to take a pipe, a circle, cut it in half, right? And So it looks like a big giant U. And the standard half pipes today, which are sometimes referred to as super pipes, have 22-foot walls. And so that means from the what is called like sort of the coping or the deck. The deck is sort of the flat area at the top, and the coping is the area where like on a skateboard ramp between where the deck and the wall, between the deck and the wall. From there to the bottom of the transition of that wall is 22 feet.
Wow.
And typically, athletes are now going somewhere between 10 to 22 feet out of the pipe, which means when they are in the air, they are, 40 plus feet above the flat bottom of an icy half pipe. And so they are huge, they're treacherous, you know, really in the best conditions, they are a bit icy. They're fast and I wish I could remember the exact length, between 300 and 400 feet long. So riders are going to drop in up at the top, and they are going to sort of come down. They'll pick a side to drop in on, and they'll do 5 or 6 tricks typically in a run.
This is one of my absolute favorite events.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it's all to me, anytime you put skis or snowboard or literally attach anything on your
yeah,
feet and then you try to attempt a sport, I'm always like, I can't, I like literally can't even imagine,
yeah.
swimming
Agreed.
swimming is a struggle. But I am taking lessons at my gym, but that's a different podcast. But to me, this is like this, I think, and then the snowboard cross, and we'll get to that. Those are two, I think those
Okay.
are my two favorite. But the half pipe, obviously, we've got Chloe Kim with the torn labrum. I thought it was a dislocated shoulder, but then I read today it's torn labrum. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but like, she said
She
she's
tore
gonna,
her labrum by dislocating her shoulder.
okay, that's it.
Yeah, yeah,
How is this like, first of all, I was just so thankful because it was like waiting last week or something. We were waiting for like 48 hours for this MRI. And I was just like, oh my God, like, is she gonna, I felt like so invested in this, but do you think that's gonna like, affect the performance? Like, how are we feeling about our little rock star?
it's a tough one, right? I think
Yeah.
there's always two ways something can go, right? And I think with her, on one hand, even with one arm, even with an injury, because certainly anyone who's, torn a labrum or, had a shoulder dislocation knows like a month, you're still in pain. She'll probably be riding in some sort of um, at least she'll be taped. But your arms are not the most important. She's going to need her arms for spinning and grabbing, but it's not the most important part of your body as a half pipe snowboarder. So it is something she can ride through. If you look at her objectively against the other women, there are some young girls who have come up and are phenomenal. But if you look at the trick list, I mean, she really is unmatched at the tricks that she has in her repertoire to put together a 5, 6 hit run. So if she's feeling good, adrenaline is an amazing thing. It's a great painkiller. She's tough. I mean, I was the TV reporter for X Games at her, first two X Games. And I'm saying first two because I can't remember if it was her first or second. And she came down in practice and split her face open on the half pipe wall and, blood all over her face, she had a band-aid on her cheek. No one thought she was going to compete. And she won. She came back out, won the contest. And I remember the first thing I said to her was, "You have to be the toughest 14-year-old in snowboarding. What allowed you to do that?" And she was just like, "I'm focused on winning. I don't feel pain." And so I think in many respects we're going to get that Chloe Kim. The difference is that Chloe Kim was the hungry 14-year-old. Now we
Mm.
have a two-time Olympic gold medalist. She has a lot of expectations on her. She wants that three-peat. No snowboarder has three-peated in any event. We have, Shaun White won three, but not in a row, and she wants that legacy, but she hasn't competed in a final since last March, and she's not going to. So we have to hope that what
Yeah.
happens is she's over in Switzerland, she's in that half pipe as soon as she is cleared to practice. She is going to practice. She is known for practicing like she competes, and then she will go out and hopefully compete like she just practiced.
Yeah, well, I'm already getting nervous. That's this thing. I feel like my palms are sweating. I get so nervous.
Yeah, we all end up feeling
It's,
like everyone's mom.
oh my God. I think honestly, figure skating, it's truly the worst for me. But then yeah, you get attached to these athletes and you're like,
Yeah.
I can't. All right. Any other names we should be looking for that could potentially um, snag a medal or just like they're fun to watch for snowboarding?
Yeah, so on the women's side for the US, you have Maddie Mastro, who also, back-to-back double cork. She has an incredible run. She also has been getting hurt. She hurt her ankle earlier this season and then hurt it again at the Locks Open just a couple weeks ago. And so it's sort of unclear what's going on with Maddie, but she has when she puts down a good run, she has a medal threat always. And then one of the most fun stories of our women's halfpipe team is Maddy Shaffrick. Maddie 10 years ago was a really popular, really she was sort of like the next generation rider, and she tried to make the 2010 team, tried to make the 2014 team. Back then, we probably could have sent three teams in men's and women's halfpipe snowboarding to the Olympics. We were so deep, and she didn't make either team and ended up at 21 retiring. Just she was disillusioned with the sport. She was having injury issues, and she became a plumber and handyman, moved back to Steamboat Springs, and eventually got into coaching and worked her way up to coaching the our Olympic team. And 2 years ago, sort of looked around and said, "I think I could still do this." It was a combination of she'd been riding with them in the half pipe for fun, and also realizing we don't have a lot of depth in our program right now, and I think I could do this. And she has been the most consistent U.S. snowboarder. She won the national title in the half pipe. She is 31 years old and she just made her first Olympic team. And it's just
Oh my
such a cool
God.
story, right? It's like, who doesn't wish you could go back and have a redo of something you didn't accomplish at 21, but with everything everything you've learned in the past 10 years. And she had spent 10 years coaching young athletes and then going, oh, wait, I should just I should coach myself. And so she's just approached this completely differently. And it has been really, really fun to watch.
Oh my God. All right. Well, this is going to be, it's funny because I was writing down athletes and I wrote down, oh, wow, she's 30. I wrote down 31. I was like, I automatically
Yeah.
am going to cheer for her. And I didn't even know the plumbing backstory. First of all, just to be a plumber is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then go to the Olympics. She's
Yeah.
got some serious skills. Okay. That's done. I'm on it. I love this. I love this. I love this so
She
much.
can, she can, yeah, she can lay drywall, she can fix your plumbing, and she has
I
and she
can't.
could, I think a medal I think is going to be tough, but she's a top five competitor for
But
sure.
just to be there, just to
Oh,
make
it's
like,
unbelievable.
yeah.
It's one of the, to even want to come back at 31 and attempt the kind of tricks that are happening in a half pipe right now. When she said she was going to do it, I think I've known her a long time. We all just sort of went, are you sure? You want to sleep on that?
I love it. It's like
Really?
just like the drive, the fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I bet she's
yeah,
like a hell of a plumber. I feel like those people, like, you know what I mean? Like they just do
totally.
everything to like,
1000%.
gets in
Yeah,
is like, you know
thousand
what? We're going to
percent.
replace the whole plumbing. Don't even worry. I got this. I love this. I love this so much.
I'll get you her
Okay,
number.
good. Because I'm literally after this, I'm literally going to Instagram her and be like, I'm obsessed with you. And I will too. And hopefully she won't find it terrifying. So, all right, now we've got slope style and big air. I had to do a little Googling. I was like, wait, which one's which? Whatever. We don't have to go into mega detail, but I forgot that the big air is just literally going 800 miles an hour on your snowboard and then just hurling yourself
Yeah,
like
yeah, or
or
skis.
skis. We're
So
getting
all of these events
yeah,
for half pipe, slopes down, big air, there's free ski and
yeah,
snowboard now.
yeah.
The easiest way to remember the difference is slope style is a full course. It's like if you were to go to your mountain and someone says, "Hey, Aaron, you want to go into the park with me?" And you hit some rails and then you do some jumps. That's a slope style course. The rails are typically at the top of the course, and then there's typically 2 to 3 jumps at the bottom. Big air is just one of those jumps at the bottom, and it's a bigger jump. It's a jump that's big enough to allow athletes to do the biggest trick that they do, and often to win an event at this point, a trick that's never been done.
Oh.
The amount of rotations we are at now is sort of unthinkable. We're at, spinning 6 times. We're not, they are. And so, you're right that it is a terrifying event. And one of the things that'll be interesting to see in the future is because there's a certain number of athletes, there's a quota of athletes in snowboarding and free skiing. The athletes who compete in snowboard and free ski slopestyle are required to do big air and vice versa. They're the same athletes. But big air has become so specialized that I talked to a lot of the athletes in slopestyle at the Aspen Grand Prix a couple weeks ago, and they said they would really love to see either two teams or the coach allowed to sort of look at both events and do like gymnastics and maybe bring three slope style athletes and a
Mm.
big air specialist, someone, because often the person in your country who could win that big air gold medal might not make your slope style team.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
is like
it's
gymnastics when it's like you've got your beam specialist, you've got your float.
exactly.
Yeah, all right, that's
We're
super
not there
interesting.
yet.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. I did put that to the contest director of FIS, the International Ski Federation, who oversees snowboarding and skiing at the Olympic level. And he said we're not ready to go there yet because what we don't want to do is encourage such specialization that big air becomes like aerials.
Mm.
Um, that said, it's going there, whether he likes it or not. And so when the athletes themselves are saying, the other thing is depending on the year, what order depends on what order they are in. So big air snowboard this year at the Olympics is first. So I talked to Red Gerard, who is our gold medal favorite for slopestyle, and he said it's tough. It's not. I'm not a big air guy. Big air is scary. In order to medal, you have to do something that's never been done. And how far am I willing to push it and worry about getting hurt?
Mm.
And then I have slopestyle, which I want to win. And I think that's true for a lot of the slopestyle athletes.
God, do you even think about that too? Because like I guess the only thing I could equate it to is like, and we'll get there. So I'm going to say this and then we're going to get there. But like the five events in skiing, it's like, you could
Yeah,
be a downhill specialist in the slalom and the
sure.
giant slalom. You know what I mean? So like, and you don't want to like, yeah. I mean, they go down the mountain 8,000 miles an hour. All right, just ending with snowboard cross. I love this. Because I just was like, wait, I have to look at, because it's like every 4 years and I don't snowboard. So I'm like, wait, which one is that? Um, but I love when they all go down at the same time and they're, whatever. This is like the non-professional, but when they're doing all those crazy moves and then they take each other out. I just remember being like,
Yes.
oh my God, this is crazy, but it's so fun to watch. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's like Supercross on snow.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wrote down a whole bunch of names. It seems like there's like four, but there's a couple of them that are so young. Like, is
So
it
that's
Hannah?
something about our
Yeah.
women's team right now is really young. On the men's side, we have Nick Baumgartner coming back, I think, for his 75th Olympics.
Yeah.
He's 44. He won his first gold medal last year. He and Lindsey Jacobellis won the team combined. So Lindsey won her first gold medal, and the two of them won the team combined. So he won his first gold medal. He's never won an individual gold medal, and I think this will be most likely at 44, his last Olympics. But yeah, we have a really young women's team. Snowboard cross is an interesting one because the longer you've been in the sport, it does tend to lend itself, unlike the trick sports, to the athletes who have a little more experience. So it'll be really cool to see how our young athletes do. And yeah, it's fun. And again, we have that. I don't know yet. They'll decide who Baumgartner links up with. I imagine it'll be one of the younger women to give them some experience, and so maybe they end up with a gold medal as well. But yeah, border cross is fun. I mean, the other reason that you don't know it super well is because we don't have border cross races in the US anymore.
Oh,
We,
really?
we don't even really have courses for them to train on. So they spend all of their time in Europe. Same with parallel giant slalom. We don't even have companies in the US that make those boards, and they race on hard boots. It's a really European sport, and border cross has gone that way as well. So the athletes who compete in that have to leave the country for the entire season.
Um, that is very difficult. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
playing in Turkey for like 10 years for like WNBA, like just having to like just travel, but like practically living
Yeah.
there. You mentioned a name, she was one of my absolute favorites, and I felt like her heartbreak was everybody's heartbreak, and that was Lindsey
Yeah.
Jacobellis,
Jacob
right?
Ellis. Yeah. Her
And
multiple heartbreaks. So to
oh,
see her win that gold
oh
last
my
time
God.
was,
I didn't real because I was just like, wait a minute. I remember cheering for her and it just never worked out. And then for her to get that gold, I was just wait, and that wasn't at was that the last Olympics or
that
was
was
that
at the
just
last Olympics.
right? That's what
Yeah.
it was.
The only
Yeah.
thing that was, that I would have wished for her was for there to be a crowd and
Yeah.
family, and her,
Yeah.
to be able to. But yes, after
Yes.
6, 8, 10, 6, 10, 14, 18, 22, fifth Olympics. Yeah, I thought so. Fifth
Yeah.
Olympics. She finally got that gold
That
medal that
was one
she'd
of my
left laying on the
yes.
course in Torino, right?
Oh God, that was one of my favorite because I would look for her name for this, and I was just like, oh, she's like starting a family, and she's been there eight, But I remember that being like, oh
Yeah.
my God, that was tremendous. All right, let's just do a couple skiing. I
Yeah.
love the skiing, absolutely love the skiing. Um, and I forgot that the free skiing, like all the big air, like mirrors, we'll just stick to the women, but mirrors the snowboarding with some of these, obviously the half pipe and all of that. Is there one like between slopestyle, big air, half pipe? Is there any, women that you want to highlight or stories or comeback or just an event that is like super captivating in your opinion?
Yeah, so I think our free ski half pipe team is incredibly talented across the board. On on our men's side, I know this is about the women, but on the men's side, there's a world in which we could sweep.
Ooh,
Um, uh, and then there's a couple of fun stories on the men's side, but on the US women's side, we have a really, really young team. I mean, really the athlete to watch, although she grew up in the US, she competes for China is Eileen Gu. And she's the favorite to win all three events. There's
oh
just never
really?
been yeah, I mean, there's really just never been an athlete like her.
Oh good, I'll do a
Um,
deep dive.
yeah, on any sport. And so, she's an interesting athlete, was raised here. She's fascinating. I mean, she goes to school at Stanford, she's a model. Um, she, runs marathons in her free time, and she's by far the most decorated, winningest free skier, man or woman of all time.
Wow.
And, she's still very, very young. And so she is really the favorite in every single event she enters, but in every contest she enters and also every event. So she will be the favorite in big air, slope style, and half pipe,
And she runs
which is
marathons and she goes to Stanford and she's a model. How much do we hate her?
she's a,
I'm kidding. I'm sure she's
I
absolutely
think.
delightful. I
And she's
literally
on
was
the
like,
cover of Time magazine this week.
of course. Great. Well, listen, some people struggle in life, and she's not one of them. So good for her.
Yeah.
In like 5 years, it's going to be like she won a Nobel Peace Prize for
I
solving the
I
blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, I'll
Yes.
follow her. I also was just looking at like slopestyle big air. Is it Rel Harwood?
Rel Harwood, yeah.
Yeah, three. She's won three-time X Games, and then Avery,
Absolutely. And then
like
we
they're
also have
17. She's 17. Avery
they're
Crum.
young,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we also have a really young team. And then we also have the Irving siblings. So we have Burke and Svea, who are brother and sister, who will compete for our half pipe teams as well in ski,
So
which is really fun.
cool. I
Yeah,
love that. And there's a pair of brothers on
yeah.
our ice hockey team, which I absolutely love. And their mom is the assistant coach on the U.S. women's team.
I
I
love it.
just, it's so,
Yeah,
I love this stuff.
yeah. To
Okay.
get to go to experience something like the Olympics, most of them don't get to see their family very often. It's very tough to connect with anyone when you're over there. So to be able to go to something like the Olympics and experience it with your sibling has to be just a lot of fun.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
like, I'm sure that's like an absolute dream. For ski, right. So you're also free ski, but you're also doing ski racing. Um,
Yeah.
and so 5 events, downhill super G, giant slalom, and the team parallel. obviously your brain just quickly goes to Mikaela Shiffrin, and and then of course Lindsey Vonn titanium. I need all titanium in parts, and we'll get to that in a second. But the Mikaela I think is going to be super interesting because yes, obviously she's the best of all time, but like coming off the zero medals in 2022, how much does that affect her mentally? I'm going to be like, my heart's going to be leaping out when I just need her to medal immediately and I'll feel better.
Yeah. I think, one thing I've thought a lot about in covering the two of them this season is Lindsey Vonn, in many ways, coming back was a gift to Mikaela Shiffrin because there's been very little pressure on her. Going into the last Olympics, so much pressure.
Yeah,
The story was she's going to do six events, she's going to win six gold medals. We were in a pandemic, there was a lot going on. She got COVID and was isolated right before we got there. It was the anniversary of her father's death on the opening
brutal.
ceremony. She was in a wild headspace when she got to Beijing. And of course, you don't have everyone there to support you. And there was still all the questions about would she ever, get to 86, it was this magical number that Vonn had gotten so close to and no one had reached. And so now she's at 107 wins. She blew the door off 86. She's the winningest World Cup skier of all time. She almost undefeated in the slalom so far this year. I think there's one time she ended up on the podium without winning. And the attention's all been on Vonn, I mean, Shiffrin, it was the first time I've been covering her that she didn't come to the media summit. I think she's been able to slip under the radar a little bit. She's been doing a podcast. She actually had Simone Biles on this week, and they talked about this, sort of talked about, she was sort of asking Simone for advice. Hey, you had this horrible Olympics where you had to you got the twisties and your brain basically kept you from competing, but you listened to yourself. How did you go into the next Olympics and win everything? How do I do that?
Yeah.
And so I think, she was saying she just wants to go into this Olympics calm and just sort of treat it like every other World Cup race she's been racing. She has had so much going on last time, and this year feels very smooth. She's been with the same coach.
Great.
She's doing really well. She's still, in the technical event, she's unmatched. I, I, my prediction is that this will be Mikaela Shiffrin's most successful Olympics, and I also really believe Vonn is going to win the downhill.
Oh my God, I'll
That comes
cry.
first.
Is
It's
downhill
it's
first?
it is. It's on Sun. It's on Super Bowl Sunday, which is so annoying.
Wow, that's
Um,
annoying.
yeah, it's very annoying. I still think it will get because they're both on NBC. I think they'll still get a decent amount of coverage.
Yeah.
But I think there's looking at how she's been racing and the fact that, it's in Cortina, it's at this is the hill she's had the most success on in her career. No skier has won more times uh, in alpine racing than Lindsey Vonn has won at Cortina. That was that did help to fuel her comeback. And so yeah, and I think we'll see her in two, if not three races. I don't think Shiffrin will do six again. I think that just the overwhelm of that was a lot too.
Um, uh, she is, obviously nothing to prove. Like, she's like the greatest of all time. It's just that like I'm so emotionally invested in these people's success of just like getting that monkey off your back. Like what I love about Mikaela Shiffrin is throughout her entire career, she is so well spoken. Like she always is so thoughtful and careful and
Yeah,
like, let me talk about my mental health and goes down with that huge injury and then bounces back. Like she's just one of my all-time favorite athletes, just to like,
yeah, I
um,
agree.
yeah, I just love the way she's handled herself. Like from day one has been so open about all of it. She just, I think you lose sight that these incredible like that they're human beings. They're under such insane pressure. It doesn't even feel healthy, but for as a fan, you're like, oh, I can't wait. But then you put yourself in their position, you're like, I don't even know how they're getting on a plane,
Yeah,
let alone
yeah.
doing these. But yeah, and then the Lindsey Vonn, oh my God. I mean, besides the plumber story at 31. But the best is like it is unbelievable that she's 41, but it's every single person is like they say 41 like she's 109. You know what I
Totally.
mean?
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
wheeling her out for like her last breath. But it really is truly so inspirational that the fact that she could
Yeah.
come back and then all of a sudden this whole year I'm like, wait, did she win again? Wait, she like it's really incredible. All right, so obviously Mikaela, we got Mikaela and Lindsey, our two superheroes. Who else do we have doing these amazing alpine ski events that we can look forward to cheering on?
Yeah. So we have a pretty deep alpine women's squad going over to Italy this year, going over to Cortina. And Breezy Johnson, and probably Breezy Johnson and Paula Moulton are the two athletes you hear the most about. Breezy is um, another speed athlete. She does the downhill and the super G. She's been on the podium with Vonn, and then Paula Moulton is a technical racer who's been on the podium with Shiffrin, and it's been cool to see both of them. Um, Throughout Vaughn's comeback and Michaela's sort of continued dominance, they're they seem to be just as excited when one of their teammates is on the podium with them as they are when they win themselves. And they've done a lot, I think, to really elevate the profile of the other women on the squad, including Breezy and Paula. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, that could certainly happen in Cortina, and that would be very cool. I mean, it's not every day that we have two U.S. alpine ski racers on an Olympic podium together. So it would be really cool if that were to happen,
That would be
one, if not
amazing.
two or three times. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up with this. And this is I didn't prep you for this. This is a wild card
Okay.
question, and it's gonna be hard for you, but it's gonna be
Okay.
also interesting for me.
Ah,
You have
okay.
to you get over to Italy, right?
Okay.
And they're
Yeah.
like, something happened, and you can only cover one ski event and one snowboard event. Only one. Which
Okay.
one, which one do you choose and why?
It's gonna have to be ski's gonna have to be Vaughn's return to the downhill. Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. It's and there's not she's not coming back again.
Yeah.
This is the culmination of covering this past year and a half of her return. This is the culmination of it. So, well, I wouldn't miss that. And in snowboard, I have women's half pipe.
Yeah.
I I have to see. I mean, our team is so exciting, and I really think there's we have two athletes who really are real podium threats, and that event is so wild. Something happens, people don't land runs. Maddy Shaffrick's right up there too. Bia Kim's right up there too. So, um, and just to see, yeah, this is the how the trilogy of Chloe Kim turns
Yeah. Oh
out.
my God,
Yeah,
I'm getting so
the third
excited.
book is always the best book, right? It's always the
Yes.
best one. So,
Yes, Return of the Jedi. I love this so much. I feel like I got a much better understanding of the events
oh, I'm
and who to
glad.
cheer for. So thank you so much. Will you get a chance to watch other events that you're not covering that you can just like enjoy or everywhere you go, do you have to cover stuff? I know stuff gets thrown at you, but do you have any pleasure
Typically,
watching?
typically, yes, but this Olympics is so spread out that I won't. I fly into Milan and that I spend a night and that's it. So typically, yes, I get to hockey games and I get to figure skating and I get to curling and I go see all of it. But this Olympics, you have to have a local driver if you want to get between the venues, and it's anywhere between 4 and 10 hours and allow
Wow.
for weather. So they really want everyone journalists to stay in one venue. I am going to bounce around a bit, but no, this is the first time that I'm not going to be in the city and get to see any of the arena events. So, um, Emily
Damn.
Kaplan and Darcy Main are going to be covering those for us. So I'll be leaning heavily on their coverage.
Yes. Well, I'll be leaning heavy on your coverage, on their coverage, and
Yeah.
just bring a
I'm
little bit
sure we'll all
extra.
get together and,
Yeah.
watch women's hockey and
Yeah.
men's hockey, and figure skating in a
Oh my God.
bar in Livigno or
Absolutely. Oh
something.
my God,
Yeah.
how cool. Yeah, the women's hockey is always going to be it's always
Oh
since
my
birth.
gosh.
That's my number one. I can't even tell you how many Olympics I've just thrown stuff at the TV as the puck goes off the goalpost and we lose to Canada, but I feel very I don't know. I feel very confident we're taking the
I
gold
do
this year.
too.
I really. And now very exciting for snowboarding and skiing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're
You're so
breaking
welcome.
stories and making time for my podcast. So I owe you. All right, fantastic. We'll have so much fun over there. It's going to be a
Thank you.
blast.
Thanks for taking the time to do this. It's so fun. Thanks for the invite.
That's it for today's episode of Her Lights. If you're loving the show, do me a huge favor. Wherever you listen, rate, review, and subscribe. It really helps me grow the podcast and get more people discovering how amazing women's sports are. Leave a 5-star rating and drop a fun review. I'll pick my favorites and read them on the air. And if you've got a story, an athlete, a game I should know about, shoot me an email at erin@herlights.com. I would love to hear from you. Fans, friends, family, have the best week of your life.